Hey everybody, Matt from Krank Engineering, and this morning when I got on this bike and started it, I thought the tail lights looked a little bit bright, and sure enough when I hit the brake pedal nothing happened. So I suspected that the globe had both filaments going, the stop light and the brake light. So I thought, well, I've got to fix that, because if I don't have a brake light then some idiot in Melbourne's going to run up my tail. So I thought I'd better pull it apart and have a look. So I've got the back of the bike apart for a couple of other jobs anyway, but I'm going to go through the steps in troubleshooting this problem, and hopefully that'll help you with some of your own issues on your own bikes. So let's see what we're working with. So I don't think you'll be able to see this in the video, but I've got a pair of brake lights and stop lights, brake and tail lights on this bike, and both filaments are lit up. So there's one filament for the stop light and one filament for the tail light. So tail light should be on all the time, and the brake light should only be on when you press the brake pedal or squeeze the brake lever at the front, and that's supposed to close the circuit and light up the other filament. So for some reason I've got power on both these filaments. So let's go through the troubleshooting steps to figure this out. So for whatever reason at the globe there's 12 volts on both the pins. So on this type of globe there's a pair of terminals, so the body's grounded, that goes to earth, and one terminal will light up one filament and the other will light up the second. So that's telling me that at the connector there's 12 volts on both pins. So we've got to start working backwards to figure out why we've got 12 volts on both pins. So some of the causes could be some wires that are rubbed together, rubbed through the insulation, and they're touching. So the stop light might be powering the tail light might be powering the stop light circuit. I did find some wires that were pretty squashed down at the back here, so that's why I've got it apart to have a look at it. Now I can't see any damage. You know, there's some crushing here on the harness, but I don't think that's a problem. So to check that, I'm going to disconnect the harness. So this is the harness. There's 3 pairs of wires. So there's a black with a yellow stripe in it. Now I'm assuming that's ground, normally black's ground. And if I look at the side of the terminal housing, that one comes up the side and it's touching the body of the globe. So that's ground. And then the other ones, one red one and one blue one of those is the brake and one of those is the tail light. I don't have a wiring diagram for this bike yet, so I don't really know. But what I'm expecting is one should have power all the time and the other one should only have power when you push the brake pedal. So assuming that this harness is okay, I'm going to go back to this connector and see what we've got at this connector. What I'm expecting, if this is supposed to be working, is one's got 12 volts and one's got 0 until I press the brake pedal. So we need to get our multimeter out and we need to hook up the negative terminal to the frame. I'm just going to put it straight back to the battery because it's close and I know that I'm definitely got a good connection. So I'll just hook that on there. Right, so we turn the volts and hopefully we can read that. Yep, that looks like it'll be readable. Alright, so what I should do actually is I normally just touch these two together until this goes back to 0. So 0 out the display. Alright, so that went on the negative. Now I'm not going to worry about touching the black one because I know that's ground already, right? So there should be no voltage on the ground pin. So let's have a look at the other two. So on the left one here, I should turn the ignition on too. Alright, lights on the dash. So this one here, there's 12 point something, 36, that's the red wire, and the blue wire's got 12.3 as well. So I've got 12 volts on both pins, so that's telling me that the problem is further back from here. So this is not the problem, and neither is my tail light harness, nothing wrong with that. So I've got to work backwards from here and figure out what's going on. So the next step is to figure out, well, where does this get power from? So I'm looking at this and it's going into this harness here, into this harness here, into this harness here, and disappears into the frame of the bike. Not much fun to try and diagnose that or pull it apart. So, you know, generally this harness is in pretty good condition. These cable ties don't look stock, but the harness, there's no obvious damage to the harness. So we've got to consider the other issues that might be affecting this. So how does this system operate? Well, there's a switch in the handlebars and on the brake lever that closes the circuit and powers the light, or there's a foot switch on the rear brake pedal, and that also actuates the light. So I'm going to go to the rear brake switch because that's the easiest one to get to, and we'll eliminate something simple first, and if it's more complicated than that, then we'll have to start digging into the harness. Okay, so I'm on the other side of the bike now. I've reconnected the taillight harness just so I can see the globes while I'm working on this side, and you can see them on the video too. So here's the brake light switch. This is pretty consistent with most motorcycles you see. So the brake pedal has a little hook on the bottom here, and it pulls on a spring, and that spring actually pulls on a plunger or a pin inside this switch here, and that's what closes the circuit and connects power back to the tail lights. So if I press the brake pedal, you can see the globes don't change, so nothing's happening there. So what I'm going to do is eliminate this switch as the problem. So what I'm going to do is you adjust these by or adjust the turn on and switch off position by the thread on this switch body. So I'm just going to loosen the lock nut, screw it right in so I know the switch should, I notice the switch should be closed. So that's telling me, so I've just screwed that in, so that's telling me the switch is closed. And there we go. So this has turned out to be quite a simple fix. The brake light switch wasn't adjusted correctly, and that's been holding the brake light on. So if I screw it back out at some point, these globes are going to light up again. Right, switches on, switches off. On, off, on, off. Okay, we'll just back it out a little bit more. On, off. There we go. Job's done. So this one wasn't particularly difficult, but you've got to eliminate all the easy things first, and the switches and connectors and rubbing harnesses are a pretty easy way to do it rather than ripping the entire bike apart to chase the harnesses through the frame. So hopefully that process of elimination might help you on some of your own troubleshooting problems on your bike. Cheers. Thanks for watching.